Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla TV, where you can watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our motorcycle race helmet guide at RevZilla.com. Now, for those of you that are track day enthusiasts, that are racers, that are professional racers, a lot of what I'm going to tell you today might seem like old hat. This will be a great video for those of you that are getting ready to go to the track or are really curious about what goes into a race helmet at the highest level that's going to distinguish a helmet like this from your normal helmet that you can ride in a lot of different scenarios. As we go up in price point, as we grow up in technicality, really what you start to see is helmets that become designed for the application they're going to be worn in. So dual sport helmets are done with on and off-road riding. Race helmets are designed specifically for the track. And really, in our opinion, it comes down to two key components. One is protection, and the other is focused. A race helmet should protect you from most likely a triple-digit crash in a lot of scenarios, better than a normal helmet would at a certain standard. And we're going to talk about that. And the other piece is everything that goes into this helmet should be non-distracting. It should be an upgrade in the sense that it's going to keep you focused, keep you in the zone, and not fatigue you or not distract you from the task at hand, which is piloting a motorcycle to the edge of its capabilities. So let's start in here, and I have 5 helmets in front of me, 5 really great examples of what we consider race helmets for right now. AGV GP Tech, the Shark Race R Pro, Corsair 5 from Arai, Schuberth SR1, and the Shoei X12. Let's start in on safety spec. Now, we think about the exotic materials and the cost that comes from a raced helmet. You know, you're starting with a helmet that specifically is designed, that needs to be lightweight, but really needs to be protective without giving anything away. In a lot of senses, it should be more protective than your average everyday helmet. So you're going to see ECE ratings, you're going to see SNELL 2010 ratings. A lot of times this is dictated by your race or track day organization. So depending on the helmet you're looking at, make sure you check. There are 2 different standards, and the SNELL is a little bit beefier. And when the SNELL standard is applied to a helmet, a little bit of times you see some extra weight because there's some extra material to pass some of their extra tests. Also, when you talk about the shells, your basic helmet's going to have a polycarbonate shell. From there, you go to fiberglass, which is a little bit different, a little bit more lightweight. When you get into race helmets, you're looking at usually composites. There could be fiberglass, Kevlar, aramidic fibers, which are another form of Kevlar. You start to see carbon fiber. What you're doing is, it's not necessarily that those materials are that much stronger than a really beefed up fiberglass shell, but what they are is lighter weight. So you're using less material and you're achieving the same safety spec. And really, that's the beauty of using those exotic space age materials. They allow you to create a massively protective helmet with a massively protective energy management system that fits around your head while keeping the weight down. There are other nuances in these helmets that go into this, and really that's going to be something like emergency cheek pad removal systems. So if you do go down, if you're out cold because you just knocked yourself out in the chicane at 120, you're going to have the emergency personnel that's able to remove the cheek pads so they can slide your helmet off your head without wiggling your spine. Again, a very important feature. All of these helmets are going to have an EPS, expanded polystyrene. A lot of times it's multi-density. So depending on where it is on the head, depending on how it's worked in, you're going to have, it's almost dual zones of crumple or impact protection that are built into these shells that are really energy managing from there. So past the shell, other things to think about when you talk about the protection level of these helmets is really even thinking through the face shields of the upgraded materials being used. Shark, for instance, uses a 3mm face shield in the middle so that if you get hit with a gnarly rock or in a crash at a high rate of speed, you're going to have the best chance of not breaking that shield and protecting your face. Other things to think about are fit. A lot of people challenge us on this a lot, and you know how the internet goes. Everybody's got their own opinion. We say race fit when we describe these videos, and any of these videos have their own video on our site, or any of these helmets rather. When we talk about race fit, it's really past the crown. Every helmet's designed to fit you in that imaginary circumference line that goes right around the widest part of your head, which is typically right above your eyebrows. But when we talk about race fit, we talk about the neck roll. We talk about the way that it contours to your cheeks, the way that it locks everything in and makes sure that when you're at 100+ miles an hour, the wind is not pushing this helmet around. There's no room for wiggling. If you go down, every area of your face that could have a cushion around it or could be locked into position is going to have the best chance of survival. And really, when we describe race fit, a lot of times that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the crown, we're talking about kind of past it into the nuance of the face and some of the other features. You can also tune cheek pads here. You can do a lot of different things that are going to allow you, and Arai, for instance, allows you to actually have multi-density cheek pads where you can pull the front areas of the cheek pad off and give yourself 5 extra millimeters of room. So again, these helmets are all about tuning. Now, tuning leads me to the next conversation, which is about focus. So when you think past protection, now let's think about performance. You know, it's different if somebody's racing a Harley or racing a flat track bike. It's a little bit of a different conversation. Protection's key, but again, you're in that upright position. When you start getting into the sport bike universe and you start thinking about the tuck position, all of these helmets are designed for aggressive body positions, sometimes even with chin on tank. So think 3/4 or all the way down depending on your bike setup. Now, if we look at this helmet can absolutely be worn in this position on the street. God bless you. You're spending $800 for a helmet that you're never going to put it to its full potential. But when you start really thinking about the race position and where a rider's going to be, if we look at the orientation of this helmet, the aerodynamics, the venting, the way the shield is set up, the way the fins are set up, everything is here to create this helmet to be perfectly or as aerodynamic as it can possibly be, while also interfacing with most likely the speed hump on a one-piece suit. So thinking through that, noticing the way the shield's set up, most racers are looking through only really the top third of their visor, but also there's no mirrors on a motorcycle, so you start to think about the peripheral vision comes into play on all of these helmets. Also thinking about aerodynamics, you know, when you have that much air going over a sphere, a lot of these helmets are going to have a rear wing. Arai actually on the Corsair 5 has this adjustable wing, and when it's in the up positions, creating downforce that's going to keep your head stable at speed as well as through head checks. Notice here that I'm going to spin my Shark Race R Pro around. You're going to see again aggressive rear wing for downforce, and then really cool with the new Schuberth SR1, we have an even bigger rear wing. This is in the up position, there's my down position, but again, all optimized to be in this position. Now when you start looking at the front of these helmets, you're going to notice too, they all have locking mechanisms. Locking face shields for head checks as well as for visor staying down at speed. When that much air is getting forced against your face, depending on how you're moving, there's a good chance that with a lesser quality helmet that's not locked, the face shield could come down. You know, fit, going back to the nuance of not being distracted at the track, you know, if you start to think along those lines as well, a lot of the crowns of these helmets have different pads that are removable, or we're starting to see adjustable comfort liners when we get into nuance and we get into the fit on that side of things. So another thing to think about is going to be the noise level of these helmets. Most racers, almost all racers, wear earplugs, and it's about focus and blocking some of the noise. But you have to remember that the sound of the track, the sound of a bike next to you, you're going to still hear that, but even ancillary wind noise on some of these helmets, it makes a difference. While a race helmet in some instances might be slightly louder than your normal street helmet because they know you're going to be wearing earplugs, you also have to think about things like the neck roll and the things about different areas that could create turbulence or resonance with wind noise over the helmet that at speed are going to bog you down or at speed are really going to distract you. You know, when you start thinking about if something was buzzing in your ear, if you're getting a pressure point, or if you weren't able to see, if you're getting eye strain, all of those things lead to fatigue. And that fatigue is what takes you out of the zone. And as soon as you're out of the zone on the racetrack, it's a very dangerous place to be. One of the last pieces of business with regard to all these race helmets too is a double D ring. You know, typically, you see a lot of different connection points. Manufacturers do some quick releases, but on the racetrack, you don't want that easy quick release under your chin. There are a lot of scenarios where not only will your body hit the ground or hit the track, but there's a bike now at high speed flying around or potentially another racer. You want to give yourself the best chance to keep this helmet on your head, so it's just our opinion as a company that we always recommend double D ring. You know, past that, it's about fit. And you think about how RevZilla breaks things down and the types of options we offer you. Now we know that even though we ship for free and exchange for free and there's no restock fee if you send things back to us in new condition, you have to remember that you can't take the helmet out and go ride on the track. But if you're serious enough to be buying a race helmet, chances are you're going to have a one-piece suit at your house. You're probably not renting one. You also probably have stands for your race bike. So what we really recommend you doing is get your helmet, put your leathers on, get on your bike, put it on the stands. You want to feel the ergonomics of how this helmet interfaces with your bike, your body, as well as the rest of your gear. For instance, one of the things that people don't think about, and you're starting to see from Alpine Stars and different suit manufacturers, where you're seeing neoprene or different areas of mesh up along the back of the speed hump and the collar. We're also seeing from manufacturers of race helmets, Schuberth being one of them, that we now have this cutaway. Depending on the profile of the helmet, and again, they're all different, and everybody's body's different, areas that are a little bit softer, so when you're in that race position or that tuck position, you're not going to have any interference between your head movement and actually the suit. You have one really integrated system. So keep that in mind and make sure you remember that everything's going to break in 10%, but a race helmet in all should really feel more snug than your normal everyday helmet in a lot of senses of the word. So we've mentioned our program and our fit and how we're going to break it down from there. I really want to hear your feedback on a video like this. I know there's lots of you guys out there that this is old hat for, but I know that there's a whole up-and-coming generation of folks that are going to the track for the first time, and they're seeing what Rossi and Stoner and Jorge are all wearing, and they're wondering what the difference is in those replica helmets. That you can get those graphics in a lot of cases. Can you get that type of functionality for the end user? And the answer is yes, they are available in many cases. And what does that really mean to your type of riding and how your performance could be affected at the track, both from a protection as well as a focus standpoint? Leave us your comments on this video on our YouTube page or on any of the product detail pages. Any of these helmets in front of me, I have full detailed breakdowns. If you really want to learn everything about them, where they fit into the food chain, and have me pull the guts apart for you, look them all up on the product detail pages at RevZilla.com, and certainly subscribe to us on YouTube. We're constantly rolling out new guides, new overviews, but more importantly, a lot of the times we're showcasing and highlighting a lot of the new products and technology and safety features that are constantly hitting the motorcycle world. We do that on our YouTube channel, and we roll those videos out every week. As always, if you want to talk to any of our gear geeks, if you want to talk helmets till you're blue in the face, we'll talk them with you. No problems there. See us at RevZilla.com via email or 877-792-9455. And as always, anything over $100 at RevZilla.com, ships for free, exchanges for free, and no restock fee if you need to send it back to us. Thanks for watching our motorcycle race helmet overview and guide at RevZilla.com. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.